Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at, as philatelists, I think we'll both appreciate the world of New York City foreign mail,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically the work of Nicholas Kirke
Yeah,
and his really fascinating two-volume work, New
absolutely.
York City foreign mail, 1845, 1878.
Yeah.
This is it's not just a catalog; it's like a rethinking of the whole thing.
It really is. And what's so fascinating about it is that it's so meticulously researched and just this really clear vision that he brings to it,
Right.
where it's not just sort of like, theories that he's presenting, but it's backed up by, just this incredible amount of evidence. And I think, as someone who has such a vast and important collection of these covers and cancels,
Yeah.
he's really able to kind of bring that into the scholarship in a way that's really impressive.
Okay, so let's jump into it. And,
Yeah.
and I want to start with like one of his most bold assertions, which is the renaming of New York Foreign Mail to New York City Foreign Mail, or
Yes.
NYCF. And I imagine this has sparked some debate amongst collectors.
It certainly did. But I think he makes a valid point, right? The traditional term implies that all mail processed by the New York Foreign Department originated in the city itself,
Uh-huh.
which we know isn't accurate.
Right.
A lot of this material, only a very small percentage of it actually came from New York City.
Yeah, and it's such a seemingly small change.
Yeah.
But it has big implications, I think,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
how we understand the scope of NYCFM.
Totally.
So he doesn't stop there.
Right.
He goes on to challenge the traditionally accepted time frame of NYCFM,
Mm-hmm.
which, most collectors consider it to be 1870 to 1876.
Right.
He covers that with NYCFM cancels
Yeah.
that fall outside that range.
Exactly. He unveils all this material that's outside of that range. And what's great is he actually shows you the covers and cancels
Right.
that prove it.
Right.
So for example, like there's this amazing 1850 cover to Prague with this really distinct red grid cancel.
Right.
And that, pushes the starting point back 2 decades.
Right.
A full 20 years earlier than we thought these things were really starting to be used.
That's significant.
Yeah.
What does that tell us about the development of NYCFM cancels?
Well, it suggests a much longer and more complex evolution than I think had been previously recognized.
Right.
We're seeing that these cancels were being used, much earlier than we thought. And then he also has material from the later end of the spectrum. Like he presents an 1877 cover to Germany,
Okay.
which has the last known hand-carved NYCFM cancel on it.
Wow.
So he's sort of pushing the boundaries in both directions of
Yeah.
when we thought these things were being used.
Okay, so he's rewriting the history
Right.
of
It
NYCFM.
really is.
But he doesn't just dismantle the framework. He also provides a new one.
Yes.
And I'm referring to his innovative chronological classification system,
Uh-huh.
which I have to say is quite impressive.
It's brilliant.
It is.
It really is, and I think it's so brilliant because instead of relying on these, categories that are kind of subjective or based on, just visual similarities, which can be, ambiguous sometimes,
Right.
he bases his system on the earliest known usage of the cancel.
Okay.
So each cancel gets this unique code that basically pinpoints it in this chronological evolution
All right.
of NYCFM cancels.
Can you give us an example of how this system works in practice?
Yeah, sure. So let's take the classification 67U409 SGEO.
Okay.
So that code tells us that this particular cancel was first used on April 9, 1867.
That's right.
And then the SGEO designation places it within this broader category of simple geometric designs.
Okay.
So not only is it like incredibly precise,
Uh-huh.
but it's also like really adaptable. As new discoveries are made, they can easily be slotted into the existing system
Right.
based on their date of use.
Right.
So it's like a living, breathing framework
Yeah.
that accommodates, this ongoing evolution of our
Yeah.
understanding of these cancels.
Totally.
And it's a system that really, I think, acknowledges the inherent limitations of visual categorization because, sometimes cancels can share visual similarities,
What?
but have very distinct usage periods. And so his system kind of avoids those pitfalls
Right.
by grounding itself in this objective reality of,
Yeah.
documented usage dates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so this level of precision is crucial, especially when we're dealing with, the nuances of NYCFM cancels.
Yes.
But Kirke doesn't stop there. He also delves into this fascinating realm of what are called forgotten fancies. And these are visually striking fancy cancels that actually predate the traditional NYCFM start date of 1870.
Right.
So why have these cancels been largely overlooked?
Well, I think it really boils down to the traditional framing of
Mhm.
NYCFM
Right.
because they predate 1870. They've kind of been excluded from most discussions and catalogs.
Right.
But Kirk recognizes their importance. And he argues that they represent this really crucial link in the evolution of NYCFM design.
So he's suggesting there's like a lineage almost,
Right.
a connection between those early forgotten fancies
Exactly.
and the more complex cancels we associate with the later period.
He's suggesting that there might be, an influence or an inspiration
Right.
that came from those earlier cancels.
Yeah, he's not just presenting these cancels as isolated curiosities.
No.
He's weaving them into the broader tapestry
Exactly.
of NYCFM history.
He's contextualizing them.
Right.
And it's a really fascinating avenue for further research.
This challenges us to reconsider our assumptions
Yes.
about the origins and influences of NYCFM cancel design.
For sure.
But one of the most intriguing aspects of Kirk's work, I think, is his observation about the migration of cancel designs between the domestic and foreign departments of the New York City Post Office.
Right.
This suggests a level of interaction and exchange
Yes.
that hasn't been widely acknowledged before.
I think it's a total revelation. I mean, we often think of these departments as operating in these kind of separate silos,
Right.
but Kirk's research shows that there was much more nuance to the reality
Yeah.
of how they actually operated.
Mm-hmm.
And he shows us, really specific examples of cancels that were used on both domestic and foreign mail.
Okay, so that raises the question then, like, what was the nature of this exchange?
Right.
Was it a formal collaboration or was it more informal,
Yeah.
a sharing of ideas and inspiration?
Right. And that's, I think, like a huge question. That's ripe for, further exploration.
Yeah.
I mean, Kirk has really opened the door to this line of inquiry.
Uh-huh.
And I think, it'll be fascinating to see what future research reveals about the dynamics between these two departments.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about cancel classification, but Kirk doesn't just focus on that. He also provides this wealth of information
Yes.
about the routes and rates and destinations of NYCFM covers.
Right.
And this is where we see, I think, the real-world application of his innovations.
Totally. And this is where I think his expertise as a philatelist really shines. He's not just a cataloger.
Right.
He's a storyteller.
Right.
He guides us through the complexities of NYCFM.
Yeah.
Using, specific covers to illustrate these intricacies of routes and route combinations and historical context.
Yeah, he shows us covers to these like far-flung destinations like Aden, China, Malta,
Right.
even Burma.
It's amazing.
These covers, they represent more than just postal markings, right?
Yeah.
They embody a moment in history,
Absolutely.
a tangible connection to this bygone era of global communication.
Yeah, and take, for example, the 1874 cover he presents to Burma.
Okay.
This cover is just like a treasure trove of philatelic detail.
Okay.
It's got, this stunning geometric cancel. It went through this really complex route through multiple countries.
Wow.
And it even has a C post office date stamp on the back. So, it's just this amazing example of how, understanding not just the cancels themselves,
Right.
but the broader context in which they were used can really enrich our appreciation of these covers.
This cover highlights the importance of understanding not just the cancels,
Right.
but also the broader context in which they were used.
Yeah.
It encourages us to approach NYCFM covers as historical artifacts, each with its own unique story to tell.
And speaking of stories,
Yeah.
Kirk is so refreshingly candid about his own experiences as a collector.
Yeah.
He shares all these anecdotes about, the challenges of acquiring rare covers,
Right.
the thrill of the chase,
Yeah.
the occasional, frustration of being outbid at auction.
Right.
His story about negotiating the purchase of what he calls the undisputed king of New York City foreign mail is particularly entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, this cover with the Scott hashtag 155 90-cent national banknote Carmine stamp, ungrilled, no less canceled, with this, incredible NYCFM marking.
Yeah, it's a gem.
It's a gem.
And the lengths that he went to acquire it.
Right.
The negotiations.
It's like a movie.
It is.
It's like a whole cast of characters.
Yeah.
But, it just shows his dedication and passion.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that philately is not just a hobby.
Right.
It's this pursuit that can consume us and drive us and ultimately reward us with, those moments of pure collector's bliss.
I love his willingness to share these personal experiences because it humanizes
Yes.
this often technical world of
Yes,
philately.
it does.
It reminds us that behind every collection,
Uh-huh.
every catalog, every meticulous classification system,
Yes.
there's a person
There is.
driven by curiosity,
That's right.
a love for history,
Absolutely.
and a deep appreciation
Yeah.
for these tiny pieces of the past.
That's right.
But it's not just about the thrill of the hunt.
Right.
Kirk's work also emphasizes the importance of careful examination
Yeah.
and authentication.
Especially in an area like NYCFM, where
Right.
fakes and forgeries
Yeah.
can be a concern.
He doesn't shy away from addressing this issue.
No, he doesn't.
He even presents a case study of this kind of potentially problematic cover
Right.
and kind of leaves the reader to ponder, is this the real deal or not?
Right.
And this is just like, a crucial aspect of responsible philately.
Yeah.
Kirk reminds us that we have to be discerning collectors. We have to question assumptions
Right.
and rely on solid evidence
Right.
to support our conclusions.
Yeah, this approach aligns perfectly, I think, with his overall philosophy of challenging the status quo
Yes.
and pushing the boundaries of our understanding of NYCFM.
It's about, asking questions, seeking answers, and constantly refining our knowledge.
Yet recognizing that our understanding of NYCFM
Yes.
is constantly evolving.
It is.
New discoveries are being made.
That's right.
New interpretations are being proposed.
The field is constantly growing and expanding.
Absolutely.
Kirk's work, I think, encourages us
Yes.
to embrace this dynamic nature.
It does, a philatelic research.
He's given us a framework,
Yeah.
a foundation
Right.
upon which to build our own knowledge and understanding.
So as we transition now into the final part
Yeah.
of our deep dive, I want to pose a question to you.
Okay.
What aspect of Kirk's work has resonated with you the most? What has sparked your curiosity? What avenues of exploration are you eager to pursue? It's fascinating how he manages to weave together so many different aspects of NYCFM in his work.
It is.
It seamlessly blends postal history, cancel classification, historical context, even personal anecdotes
Yeah.
to create this really immersive experience.
Yeah, it's a testament to his passion
Yeah.
and his deep understanding of the subject.
Right.
He doesn't just present information, he brings it to life.
Right.
He makes you feel like you're right there with him.
Yeah. Examining covers, deciphering cancels, and, piecing together the puzzle of NYCFM history.
And he's not afraid to challenge the status quo.
No.
He questions long-held assumptions, proposes new ways of thinking, encourages us to approach NYCFM with a critical eye.
Yeah, his argument for renaming New York Foreign Mail to New York City Foreign Mail, I think, is a perfect example of that.
Right.
He doesn't just suggest a name change. He meticulously lays out his reasoning.
Right.
Backs it up with historical evidence and logical arguments.
And his chronological classification system,
Yes.
while perhaps not universally embraced,
Right.
is a testament to his innovative spirit.
It is.
He saw a need for a more precise and adaptable system, and he created one.
He did.
Whether you agree with his approach or not, you have to admire his willingness to push the boundaries of traditional philatelic thinking.
Absolutely.
He's challenging us to move beyond the familiar and to embrace new ways of understanding and organizing our knowledge.
Yeah. And his inclusion of those forgotten fancies,
Yeah.
those pre-1870 cancels that often fall outside the traditional NYCFM timeframe,
Yeah.
is another example of his commitment to this comprehensive and inclusive approach.
Right.
He's expanding the scope of NYCFM, bringing to light cancels that have been largely ignored or dismissed.
Right.
And in doing so, he's revealing these connections and influences that enrich our understanding of the development of NYCFM cancel design.
And then there are those fascinating examples of cancel migration between the domestic and foreign department
Right.
of the New York City Post Office.
Yeah, it's a reminder that the postal system is this complex web of interconnected parts.
Right.
These departments weren't operating in isolation. There was this flow of ideas, this cross-pollination of design elements that
Right.
shaped the evolution of both domestic and foreign cancels.
Kirk's work has opened our eyes to this previously hidden world
Yes.
of postal interactions.
It really has.
It's a testament to the power of meticulous research and a willingness to look beyond the surface.
And as we reach the end of our deep dive into Kirk's groundbreaking work, I think it's important to come back to that final thought-provoking question that he poses.
Yeah.
What areas of NYCFM would you, as a fellow philatelic expert, be most interested in exploring further?
He's given us the tools, the knowledge, the inspiration to continue the journey.
He has.
Now it's up to us to take what we've learned and to delve deeper into those areas that spark our curiosity.
Will you be drawn to those early forgotten fancies, seeking to uncover their origins and influences?
Or perhaps you'll be captivated by the intricacies of those geometric cancels, trying to decipher the patterns and evolution of their designs.
Maybe you'll be fascinated by the complex routes and rate combinations tracing the paths of those NYCFM covers across continents and oceans.
Possibilities are endless.
They are.
Kirk has opened up this world of exploration,
He has.
and it's waiting for us to discover its secrets.
So as you embark on your own philatelic adventures, remember the lessons we've learned from Kirk's work.
Approach NYCFM with a critical eye.
Question assumptions.
Embrace new ideas.
And never stop learning.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
share your discoveries with the philatelic community.
Let's continue the conversation
Expand our collective knowledge.
and keep the spirit of philatelic inquiry alive.
Because that's the beauty of philately, isn't it? It's a journey of lifelong learning, shared passion, and the constant pursuit of knowledge.
And with that, we conclude our deep dive into the world of Nicholas Kirke and his remarkable contributions to the study of NYCFM.
Happy collecting.